Kalkadosh Boker Or Masechet Zevachim Daf Yomi Daf Hey Amud Aleph 5A1 says the Gemara. The Gemara comes and it says as follows: V'itzlich, we needed the pasuk of Motzah Sefatecha, and we needed the pasuk of Zot Torah. Why? Di katav Rachmana. If it was only written in the Torah Motzah Sefatecha, lo yada b'mai. We wouldn't know in what are we talking about when it says Motzah Sefatecha Tishmor. So katav Rachmana Zot Torah to make a kesh between the korbanot to the shlamim. Right? That means basically that it has to be lishma. V'katav rachmana zot Torah. And if it was only written zot Torah, I mean lepaslo, it would become pasul. Yeah. So if it's not going to be lishma, katav rachmana. That's why the Torah says motzah sefatecha to come and to teach you, right? That it's going to be kasher. Okay. That means basically it's going to be considered like a korban nidava, but it's just not for the baalim. It's not going to be yitzei chovah for the baalim. Okay. Capish? So says the Gemara. Says the Gemara. Yeah? Says the Gemara like this. Rami Reshakish. The Shakish is going to come and he's going to, right? Rami al-Mauhi bemidrashai. He was lying down. Right? Umakshe. And he says, in kesherim. So now it's very interesting. What does it say that he was lying down? Ayadar kam lishkav al-beten. So he says, Lamad mikan shenze pgam mikod Torah or b'derech eretz imunmei b'shchivya. If he's just doing it to rest a little bit. Meaning, Zotomena Ben Adam Shu Me'od Me'od Ayef, right? And now he's got a choice. Either he doesn't learn, or he lies down and he learns lying down. So he's allowed to lie down, learning lying down. Yeah? So he comes and he says this, Umakshe. So he asks the following question. Im ksherim hem yiratzu, vim en meratzin, salam abayim. He says, if it's a kosher korban, so therefore it should help for the baalim. And if it's not going to help for the baalim, right? So why is it not going to be pasul legamre? Meaning, I don't understand what's going on. Either it's going to be kosher and it's good, so therefore the baalim should be yitzei chovah, right? The owner should be yitzei chovah, that's the baalim. Or you're going to tell me that it should be pasul. So Amalo Rabbi Elazar says Rabbi Elazar matzinu bevayin leachar mita. We did find in a case where, for example, it comes after the death of the owners, shehen ksherin ve'menatzin, that it's going to be kosher, meaning the korban is going to be kosher if the yorshim bring it, but it's not going to be an atonement for the metim. The Tanambas we learned in the Mishnah, Ha'isha shevia hatata. A woman comes and she brings a hatat, umeta, and she dies. Yaviu yorshin olata. So then the yorshin are going to come and they're going to bring it. Olata umeta. But if they brought her ola and then she died, lo yaviu yorshin chatata. Meaning you see from here that there's going to be a difference between, right, the hatat, right, and the ola. Here we're talking about a yoledet. Yoledet has to bring a chatat and an olah after she gives birth. Okay, you guys with me? One more time. A woman gives birth. When she gives birth, she has to bring an olah and a chatat. Now, what happens is, if right now, right, they brought the chatat and then she died, so now they have to bring an olah. So they bring the olah, right? But if they brought the olah and then she died without the chatat, they don't bring it. Because remember, chatat shemetu be'alea, right? We never bring it. You remember that whenever there's a chatat that the owners died, there's no kapara after death. So therefore, whenever there's a chatat shemetu be'alea, right, it dies. Okay, so Elmaleh comes and he says, Modin lecha be'ola te'atya la'achar mita asham de lo ati la'achar mita minala. And he says, I understand because that's talking about the olah. Okay, because he says that it's going to come after death. But what about an asham? Yeah, an asham, we don't say that because an asham is like a chatat. What is a chatat? A sin offering. What is a sham? A guilt offering. Right? So Elmaleh, he says, Hare machlakotecha betzido. What does that mean? Right? You're right. It's if it's going to be, that's what we mentioned beforehand. It's a choleket, right? Which means that what? Rabbi Eliezer Omer, afa asham, you're right. It's the same thing. Should be pasul. So Amar, he said, Zeu shomrim alav adam gadol hu. You're the one that they say that you're such a great person. Kamina ana mishnah shlema. I just told you a mishnah shlema, which is a stam mishnah, and now you're telling me Rabbi Eliezer? Meaning, if I come and I tell you a stam mishnah, usually the halacha is like a stam mishnah. Now you come and you bring me one shita. I'm like, Chazak Baruch, thank you very much, but that's not halacha. That's like I'm going to come and I'm going to bring you a Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch is halacha. And also you're going to bring, no, but there's one opinion. Shulchan Aruch. סתם משנה, הכוונה שזה הולך לפי סתם בלי שום מחלוקת. סתם הכוונה, סתם, בלי שום דבר, כאילו זה מה שיש, סתם. בלי חולקים, בלי זה נקרא סתם. אם יש מחלוקת בפנים, זה לא סתם. בדיוק, זה נקרא סתם משנה. Okay? So he says, Ela rather, Amar Reshakish, says Reshakish, right? Eftach ana pitcha lenafshai. I'm going to open up to answer up my own question. Motza sefatecha hay nedava nederhu. Kedelel. When we say motza sefatecha, it's really be'emet, this nedava is a neder. Right? So therefore, right, it comes out that it's a gzerat hakatuf. It's not a svara. So there's no logic to it. It's a gzerat hakatuf. Because if you ask logic, you have his question. His question was, either it should be good for the owners, or it shouldn't be good at all. So if it's logic, it doesn't make sense. But he just says, Gzerat HaKatuv. Gzerat HaKatuv means the Torah said it that way. That's it. Why? I don't know.
I can understand that it's something, but not...
Torah says the Gemara like this. Yeah, Yativ, right? Yativ Rabbi Zera, Rabbi Yitzchak bar Abav. Yativ Abaye Gabayu. So Abaye was by them. Yativ they come and they were saying, Kashe Elele Reshakish Asham, right? So obviously Reshakish had the question about the Asham, which is the guilt offering, because we don't do it after death. So the Gemara is going to say Motzah Sefatecha. Eima haba beneder undevalaiti v'lo l'ritzei. He's going to say that it's going to come, but it's not going to be miratzeh. An Asham lo laiti klal. I would say an Asham, you don't bring it all. Meaning, a nedava, right? Even if it's not going to be yotzei chovah, but it's still a nedava, it's a present. You bring me a present, but it's nothing with Yomi, right? But he says, but an Asham, you don't bring it all, because an Asham is a guilt offering. So Elmaleh Abaye says the Shakish me'acha patach. The Shakish brought it from here. V'shachat otah lechatat, right? Otah lishma kshira v'shelo lishma psula. So he says hashar kodshim shelo lishma kshirin yachol yiratzu. So he says samul omar matzah sefatecha, which means just like we learned above that it's not going to be miratzeh, so too it's not going to be miratzeh. So the mekor din that Hasham that is not going to be lishma is going to be kosher is from otah that we learn it from other kodshim. So the Asham is correct as well, that it's going to be kosher even though it's not lishma, but again, it's not going to be miratzeh, obviously. Okay? So he says, Ve'ema ba beneder u'induva, laiti, right? Laiti v'lo liratzeh. So I just say, why bring it, but it's not going to be miratzeh. So he says, at Asham, it's also going to be miratzeh. Samarabaye, Asham de miratzeh lo mitzi. You can't say that because it's kavachomen from the Olah. Just like the Olah is not mechaperet, right? Because which means that it's not coming for kapara, it's coming as a neder and a deva. And it's not miratzeh, the Asham, which is mikaper, you know, for sure it's not going to be miratzeh. Meaning, if the Olah is not going to be miratzeh, kavachomer, the Asham is not going to be miratzeh. So says the Gemara, what are you talking about? Ma leolah sheken kalil. The olah is completely consumed. Yeah, you're looking it up?
Yeah, it's
Aha. Shlamim yochichu. Oh, put it away. Yeah, Tomer. Mali shlamim sheken teuni nisachin. Right? Utunufa chaze v'shok. He says, yeah, but look at the shlamim. The shlamim needs nisachin, the wine libations, utunufat chaze v'shok, and you have to wave. Basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring the different chumrot in order to say that you cannot compare them to each other. So the olah is more chamur than all the other korbanot, but it's completely consumed. The olah kalil, right? Completely burnt, right? But the shlamim is going to be more chamur because it needs nesachim, wine libations, and trufat chazeh v'shok. The chazar adin, and then we're going to go back to make lo reizeh krizeh, lo reizeh krizeh, right? And what is it? Atzad ha'shavah shaban. You guys remember what this is called? When I say it's not like this one, but it's not like this one, but I come and I put a common denominator. And I say now it's both of them together. What's that called? A binyan av. Both of you. Binyan av. Binyan av means that when I come and I take both of them, I cannot really compare both of them because each one has a chumrah and a kula. So I can't really compare them. But then I come and I say, okay, fine. But even though I can't really compare them 100% because I come and say, yeah, but this one is a chumrah here and there's a kula and this one is a chumrah here, this is a kula. But I say I put them both together and I make a common denominator between them. And once I have the common denominator, then I could learn from each other. It's called a binyan av. It's like a binyan. I'm making a building out of it. Yeah, so it says here, binyan av, shen kodshim. First of all, they're kodshim. Ushchatan shelo lishma, and if you're going to do shchita shelo lishma, it's still kosher. Ve'em meratzin, and it's not going to be meratzeh. So to he comes and he says, I'm going to bring an asham. That it's going to be kodesh, and you're going to do shechita, it's still going to be kosher, but it's not going to be meratzeh. Kapish? You had the olah and the shlamim, and then I learned the asham from the olah and the shlamim. Kapish? Everyone with me or not? Ask the Gemara, "Male atzad hasheveh sheben sheken yeshram betzibur." He says, one second, but you have a betzibur. Ma kavana betzibur, right? He comes and he says, it's not only korban yachid. He says, at the end of the day, there's an olah, which is a korban tzibur, and a shlamim, which is korban tzibur. He says the asham is never a korban tzibur. So even though I meet a common denominator between them, the asham is still not compared to that common denominator. Because I say that the asham is different because it's always an individual. And an olah and shlamim can be of the tzibur. Capish? So answers the Gemara, Toda Yochiach. Yeah, what about a Korban Toda? Korban Toda is also, right? Right? It never comes because of a Toda, Korban Tzibur, but nevertheless, it's not going to be Miratzeh, right? If it's going to be Nishchata, Shelo Lishma. So too. So I can learn from the Toda, right? Hey Amud Bet, 5b. So he says, Male Toda, Sheken Tuna Lechem. Ah, but the Toda needs breads. How many breads do you bring with the Toda? 40. 40. 40. Yeah, 40 halot. How many of matzah and how many of chametz? 10 and 30. The doctor is always on top of it. Huh? 10 and 30. 10 של חמץ ו-30 של מצה. זה סוגים של מצות. זה 10, 10, 10, 10. 4 סוגים. אבל 3 הסוגים זה של מצות. איזה המצות? שאני מביא של הבודדת? Yeah, different types of matzot. Yeah. So he says like this. So he says, letoda sheken teuna lechem. So he says, ola u'shlomim yochiach. Okay, what about the ola and shlamim? They don't bring lechem. וחזר הדין, שלא יגזרו זה וזה, צריך שבהן קודשים, שחטא לו קשה, ואין מנצח, אני אביא שם, שהוא קודשים, right, קודש, ושחטו שלו ישבון קשה, אין מנצח. So everyone understood what I just did now. I added now the toda to the binyan av. One more time. I had a binyan av. What did I have a binyan av of? I had a binyan of olah and shlamim. And then I learned asham from them. I asked the question, an asham never comes from a tzibur. Is never part of a tzibur. The olah could be an olah to tzibur. The shlamim could be shlamim of a tzibur. Right? You do bring tzibur, the congregation does bring it as an olah or as a right as korban. Right. So then you learn it from a todah. So we went and we said, okay, fine. So now you're learning from a todah. Todah is not from a tzibur, right? It's a yachid, because you have to say thank you. There's no such thing as a communal thank you. You have to say thank you. You by yourself, every single individual, you. Yeah, I'm pointing to you. Yeah, you. You have to say thank you. So what happens is that when you're going to come and you're going to say thank you, it doesn't come from the tzibur. So if it doesn't come from the tzibur, right? So therefore, what happens? So he comes and he says, what happens is, if it doesn't come from the tzibur, so what's going to happen? So therefore, that's going to show us that the asham is learned from the todah as well. So we asked, the todah, you have breads. You have breads. So we answered, the other ones are going to be mochiach. So now I just put in the chart now, in the binyan av, I put olah, shlamim, todah, and then I learned the asham from them. Well, because it's yachid, I learned from the todah. The breads, so then I learned from the shlamim and the olah, meaning those top on the common denominator. Now I needed all 3 of them now in the common denominator.
Very much.
Okay, so ask the Gemara, says 1 second. All these things come right as a neder or nedava, meaning whether it's going to be asham, whether it's going to be an olah, shlamim or todah, it's a nedava. An asham never comes as a nedava. Why can't an asham be a nedava?
It's a guilty.
And therefore, exactly, it's never a nedava. You can never also shlamim or an olah. You can bring as a nedava, meaning a nedava is only a present. I'm not going to bring you a present that I rebelled against you, right? That's what you said. You can never bring a chatat or an asham as a nedava. So he comes and he says it's not the same. So he says 1 second. So he says Ela Amar Rava, but rather Rava says Zot Torah Hikishu Aktuv L'Shlamim. We're making a kesh to the shlamim. Mashlamim shen kodshim ushchatan shelo lishman ksherim. Just like the shlamim is going to be kodshim and they're going to slaughter it, right? Shelo lishman, it's kosher. Ve'em meratzin, it's not going to be meratzeh. Hafani aviyasham, I'm going to be sham also shu kodesh, which is so basically he's going to bring now, right, a hekesh. Yeah, what does that mean? I'm making a hekesh, right? Shlamim right, into the Hasham, right? Because now that it's going to be a Hekesh, I don't need a Binyanav anymore. It's a Hekesh. You know what a Hekesh is? What's a Hekesh? Yeah? Yeah? מה זה היקש? היקש...
אתה מקיש ממילה פה,
exactly, when they're close together. Proximity. Juxtaposition. When you have two things which are close to each other, so therefore I learned the halachot together. So I'm learning directly.
So the difference between that and Binyan Av is that
Binyan Av is it's written in two different places, but now I want to just learn from a broad subject. Now it's right beside each other. So I'm learning the same halachot. So ask the Gemara. One second. My chazita kash lishlamim akish lechatat. He says, why are you making a kesh to shlamim? Make a kesh to chatat. So he says, hamiyat rachmana otah. When it says v'shachat otah lechatat, the otah is making as if to say like a mute. It's excluding it. So only the hatat is going to be pasul if it's not going to be lishma. But if it's going to be anything else, it's going to be kosher. Okay? Fine. Next. Everybody clear? Yativ Rav Huna v'Rav Nachman. They were sitting in Rav Huna and Rav Nachman v'Yativ Rosh Gabayu. V'Yatvi v'Kamen, they were saying, Kasha lele l'shakish Hasham. Teloati la'achar mita. You have an Hasham which is not coming after mita. Leima le Rabbi Eliezer. What am I going to say to Rabbi Eliezer? Hasham nam yati la'achar mita. That is going to come after mita. So Amalu, he's going to say to Rav Shashat, Hasham l'may. Why is it coming? L'may karef. V'motaro. For its money. So he says, Chatat nami karev motara. What does that mean? He says like this, you're bringing, right, the Demei Pidyono, right? He says, you're not actually bringing it after the Mitat Balim. So to now also, Chatat nami mikav karva motara. So you should also bring it after the Mitat Balim, just with the value. So he says, Chatat, afagav de karva motara, even though you're going to bring him, Yan Rachmana hu, it's still going to be an exclusion. So he says, but it's also written Hasham hu, Hasham nami ktiv behu. He says, no, ha'u la'achar aktarat emonim hu dichtiv. There it's written after the aktarat emanim. The Tanya is going to the Braita. Aval Hasham lo ne'emar bohu ela la'achar aktarat emunim. What's more, im lo iktiru emunim kasher. So it's going to be kosher even if you didn't bring the emunim. Ve'lahu lama. So why do I need the word hu? Rav Huna amar Rav, Rav Huna amar Rav. Hasham shenitak l'riyah. When you have an Hasham that the owners died or whatever it is, ushchato stam kasher. It's going to be kosher, right? Nitek in lo nitek lo. If it was going to be mitak, yes. If not, not. So he says, "Umay tama." So why did the pasuk say hu? Bavayato yeh. It should be bavayato. So Yatvi, Rav Nachman, Rav Shashav, Rav Ada, Bar Matana, Gabayu, and they were sitting by the side. Then Yatvi, they come and they were saying, "Hade kamar Rabbi Elazar." That which Rabbi Elazar says, "Matzinu bevayin la'achar mita shehen ksherin." That you find that they're going to be kosher. The en, right? The en meratzin, and it's not going to be meratzeh, which means that again they're not going to be tzedechova the korban. Leiman le'Shakish. Why don't we just say le'Shakish? Hanau nami leiti v'le'retzeh. When we say also, it's going to be meratzeh. So Amaleh and Rav Ada Bar Matana says, "Yoledet." Right, we're talking about now to do with the yoledet. Im hi yalda banea miyaldu. Says she was the one that gave birth, not the children. Why would the children have to bring a korban for the mother? It's a yoledet, right? She gave birth, not the children. So matkifla ravasi umane malandika kama se gaba lo mitkapra. So he says, who are you going to say that she's not going to be mitkaperet if she's got a few different mitzvot aseh? Right? How do we know that the olah is not going to be atoning? Says it's not going to be a kapara. Meaning this, you remember that we said that an olah atones for positive commandments. You remember we said that many times. A korban olah atones for positive commandments and thoughts. If you had a thought of doing something, right, an avirah, so it's true. It's not considered an avirah. But when you bring a korban olah, the olah redeems for that. A chatat redeems for a negative commandment. Right? Somebody was mechalel Shabbat b'shogeg. They did this b'shogeg. Whatever it was the shogeg. Right? Nida b'shogeg. All these things b'shogeg. They did certain things by accident. So in such a case, they bring a korban chatat. So the chatat atones for a negative commandment. This atones for a positive commandment. So he says, Lemimra de kanya lehu. Are you going to come and you're going to say that it's going to be for the Yorshim? V'amar Rabbi Yochanan, niach mincha lishne banav, umet, kreva, ve'embo shutafut. What happens if a person leaves a mincha? What happens is the guy dies, right? So they bring the korban mincha, but it's not considered a shutafut of the two boys. Meaning there were two boys that they were the inheritors. It's not considered a shutafut. So if you're going to tell me now, Kanya Lehuda be'emet they acquired it, nefesh amrachmana. The Torah says nefesh, not v'nefesh ki lashon yachid. It's not v'nefashot, right? So it can't be shutafut. So says the Gemara, v'la Kanya Lehu. You're going to tell me no. Rabbi Yochanan says, if he leaves an animal to the two children and he dies, They bring it and they don't do a tmura. Now, if you're going to tell me that they acquire it, I know that's what it means that they cannot do a tmura. Shutafim, because they're going to be considered shutafim. And shutafim cannot bring, right? They cannot come and be mamid. If you're going to tell me that they did not acquire it, right? So you should say then that it's going to be that they cannot do the tmura. So answers the Gemara, Shaneatam is different over there. The Pasuk says, meaning that the Yoresh can also not do tmura. Only one person can do tmura, not two people. Two people cannot come and do tmura.